Welcome back to Nothing But Nets. We are the host of the Brooklyn Nets, the hottest team in the NBA right now. They've won 6 of 7. There's going to be some mixed reactions on that. They defeated the Philadelphia 76ers last night 100-96. They're not even with the Sixers in the tankathon standings, and they're just a game and a half out of the play-in. I got a full panel today to discuss this. I got Dylan, Nets Press. I got Everything BK John, and our guest, Big Fan Breezy. Breezy, let me start with you being a guest. Do a little plug and let me know your thoughts on yesterday's game.
I think Jordy Fernandez is telling them
Well,
go out
tell us
there.
about your show. Tell us where we can find you first. Tell us about what you got going on.
Y'all can find me on YouTube at Big Fan Breezy, same handle on Twitter or X, Big Fan Breezy. Or y'all can find me, you know what I'm saying, here in the chat or something. I'm around for sure.
All right. Your thoughts on yesterday's win and winning 6 of 7. Give me your thoughts on that.
It was kind of like, I don't want to feel the anxiety if we lose or win, because at this point it's unpredictable. I mean, far as trajectory of what we're gonna do, the only thing that's consistent to me is Jordy Fernandez is a great coach. You know what I'm saying? I think he stands out far as what he's done, and he's made it clear that with talent, you give this guy talent, it's going to probably be a contending team sooner. He speeds up the process for me, like a rebuild process, because of how good of a coach he is. Instead of it being 3-4 years, I'm looking at more 1-2 years. So that would be Jordy Fernandez' second or third year as a head coach. His second and third year as a head coach, I look at us as a playoff team or contending team based on what we're doing this season. And I know that might be a lot for the question that you asked me, Gary, but this is net fan stuff that I'll be contemplating, because I am kind of unsure what they want to do as far as compete and get to a play-in or stay in the lottery. But yeah, ultimately, last night game, I thought the defense stood out. Not necessarily the offense in particular, but I thought we were real scrappy. You know what I'm saying? Real like aggressive on defense. You know what I mean? I seen Clax get 2 blocks on one play. There was a lot going on. I seen some steals. So, that's what stood out for me, just the defense, and that we still winning. And, I'm surprised at that too. We supposed to be quote unquote a bad team, but I could see, even if the team doesn't have high talent, quote unquote high talent, if it has high morale, they're gonna compete. And
Jordy's got him. Jordy's maxed him out. I mean, defensively, we're letting up 95 points a game in the 7-game streak. 95 points a game. Like, that's like 2004.
right.
That's wild. Like, that's like we score 115 now, 120 in the NBA. He's holding teams to 95. John, I'm gonna go to you first, and I'm gonna let Dylan cook on this. I know you're gonna have some thoughts. The win yesterday and overall winning 6 of 7 and kind of taking us out of position to tank. What are your thoughts on yesterday in particular and the hot streak as a whole?
Well, guys, it's always good to talk fun basketball with you. It's ever to talk fun basketball. You can follow me on Twitter at OS91413John. Listen, we are living in the bizarre world in Brooklyn, but we shouldn't be surprised because under the Sean and Joe regime, every season has been a roller coaster ride. So to expect a boring, predictable season probably wasn't going to be in the cards as much as we want to dream that up. So this is where we're at right now. Now we're competing for what? I don't know. A play-in. I don't see how that benefits us, but this team pretty much is all in Jordy's hands. You could say Jordy's the GM, the coach, the boss, the owner right now, because he has full reign and he's controlling this team, and they're all following exactly what he wants to do on the court. And you just mentioned, Gary, the reason we're winning is on our defensive program that Jordy has established, holding these teams to under 100 points. Keon Johnson, Zaire, Day'Ron Claxton, rebounding. Like, there have been a lot of contributions from who's on this team, but that's only one side of the coin. You look at the other side, we're facing teams that are injured, teams that already know they're going to be in the playoffs, so why are they going to bother, expediting all that energy when they already know where they're going to be at? And there are teams that look at Boston, Cavs, and OKC going, hey, we don't have the talent to compete this year, so why should we put our all into it? That's why Maxey didn't play yesterday. I mean, a contusion, really? That's not a real injury. Come on. They know they're not going to beat a Boston or a Cavs team, so they're likely calling it in soon, especially because Embiid needs a surgery. So, yes, this junkyard squad story under Jordy has been exciting, and Jordy has shown you he can be a legit coach. But the biggest problem we're all forgetting, someone's forgetting, is that you need the talent. And for everybody to believe that whoever Jordy can draft will turn out to be great, at the end of the day, great talent overcomes decent talent. No matter what talent you get, you can mold it all you want. But there are great talent out there that if you don't get your hands on, let them go somewhere else, they're going to kick your ass. So at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that we still have an organization that doesn't have a set direction yet. I mean, you have a coach who doesn't want to tank. You have an organization who really hasn't told you what they want to do. Like, why can't we have a structure where everybody's on the same page? It feels like we got the inmates running the asylum with Jordy, and we got an organization going, hey, this is amazing. Look what we're doing with the scrapyard heap. Like, it's just at the end of the day, yeah, it's exciting, but it feels like we're living in the present as opposed to building a future. And I don't see how that's going to benefit us. And I said this before we started the show. We're going to find out two theories on May 12th. We're going to find out that Sean and Joe knew this whole time when he had a top 3 pick and they didn't care what was going to happen this season. Or we don't get a top pick. We're going to find out that we have one of the most incompetent organizations in basketball. So that's what you're going to find out on May 12th. And at the end of the day, it's a roller coaster ride. So I don't know where this is going to go, but we'll see what happens. It's Brooklyn Nets world, man.
I want to get to Dylan, and I know this is going to be a bloodbath, and I'm expecting it, and it's not uncalled for, but I want to preface the question with this, Dylan. As much of a disaster as this season has been, can you at least acknowledge, before you answer the question, that we at least found our head coach? And that's a major positive. Go ahead. Same question to you. Start with that, but let me know what you think of the current hot streak.
Yeah, listen, I know that you guys expect me to be hot. I truly don't have any more energy for this team. I like I said before the show even started, I genuinely don't have any love for a single thing on this team right now. Like, genuinely, this is by far the most depressing year I've seen, simply because we were given the false hope that we were going to potentially land our first ever homegrown superstar, and that's being ripped away from us day by day. It's absolutely disgusting. I don't understand how Sean Marks has a job. I genuinely don't. But here's my problem with Jordy. Everyone wants to give him the praise and wants to give him love. But I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I watched Mike Tomlin take over for Bill Cowher and win a Super Bowl within his first 2 years. And then he's done nothing since, right? When you're handed down something, in this case, he was handed down nothing. But a lot of times, first-year head coaches, they're either going to plummet or they're going to do great. There's never an in-between, really. You don't see a mediocre first-year head coach. It's either they come in and shock the world like Ime Udoka did with Boston, or you get guys like Will Hardy who overachieve a little bit and then shit the bed, right? So I can't give full praise to Jordy when he hasn't had a product around him that's good enough to actually win something. We haven't seen him in a 7-game series against a Boston team going into a game 6 or 7 down 3-2 or tied 3-3. Like, I haven't seen that. And we're not going to see that simply because he doesn't have a team around him to do it. And you're not going to build that team through free agency this year. The best available option is going to be Jonathan Kuminga. I'm sorry, but that doesn't move me. I don't see a championship with that. Giannis, not going to be traded this offseason, most likely, unless if he demands a trade. And even if so, you're giving up Cam Johnson, you're giving up a Nick Claxton, you're giving up a Cam Thomas potentially. So why even do that? There's no point of it. I'm on your side, Breezy. I don't want to trade for Giannis. I don't give a shit about him because he's not going to move the needle for us.
Right. So, but if we can trade Nick Claxton, I do have to do this again because I said I'm going to do it every day. Nick Claxton's plus minus. Where is he? -1 for Nick Claxton in 32 and a half minutes. And Day'Ron Sharpe plus 13 in 15 minutes. This is every single day where Nick Claxton has a negative plus minus and Day'Ron Sharpe has a plus minus every game. So I'm just going to continue to put that out. But please continue, Dylan.
They had no center yesterday, and he has a -1. Can anybody explain that logic? They had Ubercell, the French dude. They had no center last night, but Drummond. They got -1. That's crazy.
let me bring this up. I want to switch. I know John. This pissed John off. I didn't bother me too much, but I know it got under John's skin. I'm gonna play this. Hang on.
I cooked him
Oh,
yesterday
it's
on
a
Breezy,
Cam
so this is part two. This is part two. Scam Johnson. His name is now
Yo, that
Scam.
was classic on my. I gotta learn how to clip up parts of the show because I wanted to clip that up and post it on Twitter. That was classic. I ain't even gonna
Well,
hold
Breezy, I appreciate you with the screen, man. Like it lined up perfectly, so thank you, man. That was a fun one. I cooked dough and I had to
All
cook
right.
Scam.
All right, hang on. I just got rid of it. Hang on. Right, you guys
Yeah,
ready?
like one of the comments.
Yeah.
I was gonna say one of the comments said real quickly that if we didn't make the trade to get our picks back, I'd be so happy right now. Like I agree. Like if
Yeah.
we didn't get our picks back, this would be something that's special. Like that would be
Mhm.
like, all right, we're creating something.
There
But
we go.
instead, you have your picks back, and you're failing to do the one objective and the main goal of this entire season, which is get your first homegrown superstar. Like we genuinely have not drafted, quote unquote, a star in the top 3 since Kenyon fucking Martin. That was before I was born. I'm 23.
right.
That's a problem.
Dylan, tell them the year specifically, Dylan, so the chat know.
2000
For what? Kenyon
99?
Martin? I want to say
Yeah,
what?
Kenyon
Was that 99 or 2000? I was born in
I think it's
01.
99. No,
Yeah.
2000.
I was
2000.
born in 01. Like I genuinely have not seen this team draft a superstar. Every other organization has. John Wall, even in Washington, considerably a superstar while he was there. Like
Yeah.
all the teams in this league have drafted somebody, whether it be with their own picks or somebody else's picks, that has been a superstar on their team, besides the fucking Nets. I swear to God, it's like I chose to be a Jets fan. I feel horrible.
Well,
It
I'm
sucks.
both, so I get it from both ends. Yeah, it's what
Yeah,
it is.
It's not fun. It's like getting DP'd. Like it's horrible. Nobody wants that. It's disgusting. It's so foul. It sucks.
All right.
Go on with the
Ca-
Cam
ca-
Johnson one.
I played a Cam Johnson quote.
that this season should be about prioritizing the draft position instead of
We
chasing.
don't care. We do not care what they say about that. Listen, at the end of the day, the 15, 18 guys on this team have a job to do. And our job is to not try to get a draft pick. Our job is simply to win basketball games. The basketball games are in front of us, and that's what we're going to put our full effort towards. We don't care about all that other noise. We don't care about what if that's what they think, then they're not really a fan. You know what I mean? They don't want us to succeed. You're going to ask our own players to lose. We're not going to do that. We're out there to compete to win every game, and we're out there right now to fight back. You know, we've been in a little hole. We fought back. I think defensively we've been a lot better, and things are, overall as a program, we're getting better. So I'm encouraged by what we're building here, and I think it's, like I said, the excitement that this team gets along well and is out there fighting for each other.
All right, John, that
Can I
pissed
start?
you off.
Can I start?
Oh, you want to start? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say 3 words. Fuck you, CJ. That's it.
Okay.
Let me get Breezy. I'm going to let you cook on it, but let me get Breezy because this doesn't piss me off. I kind of agree with him. I see his point. He doesn't care if we draft
agree in the
Cooper
sense of
Flag.
the player standpoint, but when you're talking about fans, then at that point, you have no right to speak. You have no right to speak about the fans because your dumbass came here sitting on a podium pouting when you got traded from Phoenix, and then you got paid. We know why you want to be here because you got paid. That's it. Other than that, you're a bum to us. Nobody wanted you here. 90% of the fan base wanted you traded. You're a fucking
100%,
loser outside of this organization. You are an absolute mediocre role player. You're fucking dog shit. That's what I have to say about Cam Johnson. Fuck him.
Breezy, this comment doesn't bother me. I understand where he's coming from. I kind of agree with him. I wouldn't say that the fans that pay to see you aren't fans. I wouldn't have gone that far. But what are your thoughts on Cam's comments?
I mean, personally, I think he's supposed to say that in front of the whole wide world. You know what I'm saying? He ain't gonna come out and say, "Yo, we gonna be trash." We gotta focus on next season. Nah, he's not gonna say that. He's a professional. As much as it may be the unpopular opinion to the fans, as a professional, he gotta say that. You know what I'm saying? But I think he went wrong when he said we don't care about the fans. Like, bro, you've been here 2 seasons. Stop it. The fans, the Nets fans, my thing is, you don't challenge a fan base that never won a championship, that are always going to support this team, regardless if you here, if KD here, if Jared Jack is here, if you know what I'm saying, Isaiah Whitehead is here. This fan base is going to continue to support whoever it is. You're not even in a position where like you come in here and you fit in to compete. You got your money. We understand that you didn't want to get traded. I'm pretty sure you were steadfast about that. And bro, you ain't gotta come at the fans. You went wrong coming at us. Don't come at us because we ain't do nothing but embrace you. And you know, we didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? And because you played bad last season, and then when you decided to stay this season, a lot of fans were on the fence about your play. And yeah, you're playing great, but I don't think it's enough for you to be coming at the fans based off of what you did. Like, I think you went too far coming at the fans. Like, coming at the fans? Us? Grabs pearls? I think that was just a little much, you know. He should be apologizing to the fans that was holding him down, especially fans like me who had to take a lot of criticism because I said Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson would be a top 10 duo last season. And this is the thanks I get? Nah, man, we trying to see we looking at what history shows. History shows that a lot of the championship contending teams, they are that because of the players that they draft. And a lot of the times, those are lottery picks. You shouldn't come at the fans for wanting us to try to build a championship roster from the draft because every franchise in the NBA has done it. And the Brooklyn Nets are the same. That's how I feel, Gary.
John, this seemed to, I appreciate that, Breezy. I want to get to John. This really irked John. So I want to let John cook on this. John, tell us why this pissed you off so much.
Dylan, very poetic as always. Breezy, very salute to you, man, on yours. That was a great soliloquy. Listen, at the end of the day, like it's not gonna be as memorable as yesterday, but who the hell does Scam Johnson think he is? Like, at the end of the day, you've been here for less than 2 years. You're trying to tell us what makes a Brooklyn fan? First off, I was here watching what happened in 2016, 2017. We were going through a whole bunch of no-buys and losing with no hope in sight with 0 picks. I was there. We had that great cultural run in 2018, surprising all these top teams by winning game after game, going on an 8-0 streak after losing 8 or 9 games. I was there when we got KD, Kyrie, and then got James, and went on that great run for his season. I was there when we had that great Game 5 when Kevin Durant dropped 40 points. And I was there at heartbreak when he was 1 inch away from the three-point line from winning that game for us. And I was there for the clock. So I've been there through all of Brooklyn's highs and lows. So this guy tell me because I want us to rebuild the right way, that I'm a Brooklyn fan, who the hell do you think you are, Scam Johnson? Because that's who your real name is. You look at their birth records. Him and his non-biological twin, Midkel. His name is Scam. They are middle-tier role players. I think because they played a little well, riding coattails to the finals a few years ago, they have some real say and power in this league. At the end of the day, look at Mikal Bridges. He is below a role player. He got cooked by Boston. They put him in McDonald's tweet. Now you got this guy talking out his gums, saying, "Oh, I'm here to do a job. I get paid $90 million." Hey, you got paid $90 million, Gary. We talked about this the other day. There are cheerleaders that were producing more than Cam Johnson was before these 3 great months he went on. He was averaging 13 points as a former lottery pick, and this guy's been injury prone. Literally, even this season, this guy hurts his ankle every time he plays. He's like a guy at the YMCA, man.
Because he's a role player, and he's a role player. He doesn't get to not have an opinion because he's a role player. Like, I understand he's not Luka. We get it. He's not Jason Tatum or Shea. We get it. He's a role player, but that doesn't mean he doesn't get to have an opinion. That doesn't mean
he can have an opinion, but to attack the fan base that actually cares about the future with him not in it. And like at the end of the day, listen, yes, you're making money because you don't deserve it. But at the end of the day, if you're on another team right now, you're averaging 13 points. You're not dropping 20 points to the 3rd or 4th option. He is a 5th option on best on a contending team. So I can't wait till we trade him this offseason. Trade him anywhere at this point. I don't care about a top team. Send him to a bottom team. Let him talk that smack while he's still collecting his money. But at the end of the day, this guy gives us nothing for our future. And he's an injury away from being a watered-down version of Klay Thompson. So I am done with this Scam Johnson stuff. The twin era needs to be officially done. Part of it is done. Now we got to end the second part and just move forward. Stop going back into the past. This organization is going back into the D-Lo nostalgia days, and this Scam Johnson BS needs to just get out of here. We don't need somebody's attitude like that when they don't even care about the future. I'm focused on the future, not on a role player with injury issues. Like, let's just move forward, man. I'm done with this joke of a guy.
Let me bring this up. I got the standings up. The Nets are looking like, to me, and I'll get everyone's take on this, they're looking like they're play inbound to me. All right, Philly is a train wreck, and I think they want to get into the bottom 6 so they can keep their pick. The Bulls are looking like they're tanking, and Atlanta is looking like they're tanking. I don't know if they can catch Atlanta, but they're only a game and a half behind the Bulls, who look like they don't want to win another game this year. And the Nets are playing every game like it's the NBA Finals. If you ask me, unless Toronto can come up and jump them, which is possible, but they're way back. I think the Nets are making a play.
And Brandon Ingram doesn't have a timetable.
They're still
Brandon
like
Ingram doesn't have a
Toronto's
timetable to come back. They're going to tank. They're going to tank
Yeah.
because they're smart. They're not fucking morons. It's so simple. Like they're going to bottom out and keep Brandon Ingram healthy. They already re-signed him. So if they go out there and land a Dylan Harper, then guess what? They now have their point guard they have their star point guard of the future with Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram, who are all-stars, and RJ Barrett, who's probably the best fourth option in basketball. Like they have something building there. We have nothing.
I want to address these comments from Lou. If they catch Atlanta, they play the Heat in the play-in, which is winnable. I mean, I want to start with Breezy. I'm going to go around the panel. Breezy, is it time to just start rooting for the play-in and hope this team can make the playoff? And, we'll deal with Atlanta. We'll deal with Boston or Cleveland or whatever comes in the first round. Is it time to say, okay, this tank didn't tank. It didn't work for whatever reason. We have our coach. Let's just root for the play-in now and see how that goes.
I was reading the comment. I kind of agree with Lou, man. It's just funny now, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, what are we talking about, man? We being mad that we winning, and the fact is that I agree that Jordy Fernandez with great talent could contend for a championship. That's a fact. With what I see with what he had, he's nothing short of a maestro. You know what I'm saying? So I think that whatever talent we get, he's going to be good. But if we just being specific, weighing it on a scale, do I think the 2025 draft class is more important than the play-in? Yes, I do.
Let me ask you, Breezy, the tank's not tanking. Like, this tank didn't work. Like, we're going to win more games than we did last year when we tried to win and we tried to lose. And even yesterday, D'Angelo Russell was red hot. They played him 26 minutes. It's like they're still not really trying to win. If they try to win, post All-Star break, we get Cam Thomas back. We get Noah Clowney back. Now we have a lineup of D'Lo, Cam Johnson, Noah, and Day'Ron Sharpe or Claxton as the five. We're not losing left and right with that lineup. I mean, rooting for the tank to me seems like that we missed the boat on that. Honestly, we won too many games early, and now we're winning games. Like, we might as well root for the playoffs. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
What I'm saying is like I think other teams is cheating. They cheating on the tank. Like the 76ers, they got a lot of top 3 picks in recent history. They got no business tanking. They shouldn't even be in the party. And I'm not even saying tanking like that, but come on. They got Embiid, they got Fultz, they got Okafor, I think. They got Ben Simmons. All of these high draft picks for them to be competitive, and they didn't get past the second round. Even if they are tanking, I don't think they should be rewarded. Even if they have a worse record than the Brooklyn Nets, I don't think they should get a better pick than the Brooklyn Nets. For the very reason that I said, they wasting their NBA time. They don't know what they're doing with their free agents. You can't name me another franchise besides the 76ers that had that many high draft picks in recent memory that didn't get past the second round. The Atlanta Hawks drafted Trae Young and they got to the further than the 76ers did than Embiid ever did. So no, even if the 76ers got a worse record, the NBA should still not grant them a better position in far as getting a lottery pick than the 76ers. We should have a better pick than them just cause. They ain't do shit, pardon my language, with their draft picks. They wasting everybody time. These franchises that's not getting these players and knowing how to put a team together to compete to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. You know what I'm saying? Then we gonna skip you. We gonna give another team that draft pick. The Brooklyn Nets, it makes sense. He talking about Kenyon Martin. That's 20 years ago. Derek Favors. What are we talking about? Lopez, Brook Lopez. He was number 10, and that was as best as far as we got. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying all that to say, like, even if these teams are worse than ours, worse records than ours, they ain't do nothing with their draft picks, and the NBA should look over them and say, yo, we should go to Brooklyn because that market will be good for the energy for the game. The same way you in Texas, and you know that it's good for Dallas, it's good for the Spurs, it's good for the Houston Rockets. The same way they know in California that it's good for all of those teams, the Clippers, the Kings, the Golden State Warriors. They want all of those teams in California to be competitive. It makes sense for the Brooklyn Nets to be competitive. It makes sense to give us a top draft pick. These teams, they are cheating, they rigging the system, man. They being bad intentionally. And man, the 76ers ain't got no place in this tank and playing this bad, bro. They got too many. I ended up saying they got too many draft picks and didn't get it. It wasn't successful for the NBA to keep going to them to try to build a championship roster. It should go to us.
I appreciate that, Breezy. I want to bring this. Let me bring John next. John, the Nets were 21-33 last year going into the break. They're 20-34 now. So they're essentially the same team they were last year. Trying to lose every day, benching 2-3 starters at a time, trying to lose every day. Is it time to just give up on the tank? Like, the tank's not going to happen. It's not going to work. Like, we can sit there and cry about it, but the tank didn't tank. Is it time to just start rooting for us to try to make the play-in and then go from there?
If the second theory comes true, this will go down as the worst tank in NBA history. And you just talked about all the things and you talked about all the things we should be doing. Like, what about Killian Hayes? What happened to bringing him up? We got D'Lo now playing winning basketball, selling tickets. Like, it makes no sense to make that move when you had Killian Hayes who could have developed. Like, we're towards the end of the season where you shouldn't care about wins. It should be about player development. Killian Hayes. What about Dariq Whitehead? The kid's riding the bench again when he's like healthy right now. Like, we're now riding on a micro three of Cam Johnson, D'Lo, and Nick Claxton. This is insanity. And at the end of the day, this just now a playing situation could easily destroy us from getting a top 3 pick. And the only way that this is rigged for us is due to our economic equity of being the 4th richest franchise and the head coach we have. That's the only power we have right now to bargain with. We don't have a resume like the Spurs to get a Wemby. We don't have the resume like all the teams. We haven't even been close to a championship. So we are banking on the NBA front office to like what we're doing economically to give us a top pick. Is that enough? I don't know. But at the end of the day, like Gary was talking about, it's a business. Basketball is fun and all, but NBA owners, they want to make money a lot of ways possible. And can Brooklyn be that team to bring a real team together? That lies the problem. It's easy to get the superstar talent like we've done over and over again. But when it comes to creating a balanced team, we always fall short on our asses. So if we don't get a top 3 pick this year and we get a 6, 7, or 8, you get a building block prospect. But Breezy, to your point, Coach Jordy can't turn every player into a great player. If you have great talent out there that can beat any type of decent talent that upgrades over the years, great talent will overbeat decent talent. So to miss out on a top 3 this year would be a huge disappointment to a lot of fans who all mentally prepared themselves. This was not going to be an easy season, but to see the end of it when you get a top 3 pick, your first ever lottery pick in Brooklyn history, that is what rejuvenates and brings a fan base back to life. And now we're hanging on a thread, hoping that our economic status will get us a top pick when this could have been a lot easier if we just would have done things the right way. We have an organization that likes to live on the edge, likes to treat this like a gambling casino and a roller coaster ride. And I hope it pays off for us. But at the end of the day, we have been more snake bitten than we have been fortunate because we always do the wrong things when the right things are right in front of us.
Let me bring Dylan in. Dylan, it's the same question to you. John mentioned getting a top 3 pick. Unless the lottery is rigged, which I believe that it is, we're not getting a top 3 pick. We're not going to be in position to do that, right? Like, we're just not as the tank didn't tank. It didn't work. We can get into why, and we will. I'm not sure why we're winning games. The team is horrible. We're holding teams to 95 points like it's 2004. I don't really get this. But is it time to just like the tank? There's no more point in rooting for the tank. Like, they're going to win games. Do we just start rooting for the Nets to win games and try to make the playoffs? I'm being serious, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, for me, no. I don't give a shit about a single guy on this team. Genuinely. There's not a single person on this team that I can considerably see here in 4 years outside of maybe Cam Thomas, and that's it. Maybe Noah Clowney.
I was going to
But
say
I have nothing to root for. These people have done nothing for me. It's not like they're going to win anything come playoff time or play-in time. Why should I give a shit about them? Like I said at the beginning of the show, I have never hated my own team, specifically the Nets, more than I have this year. I fucking hate them. It's a dog shit product, and it's a dog shit way of trying to put a long-term success plan in front of you. They're doing nothing for it. I'd understand if this was next year, if you already had the top 3 pick, if you had the flexibility come free agency and you had guys in free agency that were actual star caliber players. You have nothing in free agency. You're not improving the roster unless if you're giving up a shit ton of picks to go for a superstar. And in that sense, you still have no roster around them. There's not a single excuse in the world that says that this is a good idea. There's not one other than, oh, be a real fan and cheer for your team. That's not an excuse.
let me put this to you. Like, it was 2 weeks ago where we thought the tank was in great shape. They had just lost to Sacramento. They had lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 in a row, and they were 2-15 over a 17-game span. Where like they're going to catch New Orleans, they're going to catch all these other teams, and they're going to get in the top 3, no worse than 4. Then all of a sudden they've done this, and we knew that there were some winnable games. Charlotte twice, Washington. Okay, there's some winnable games here. But what's caused this switch to be hit? Like they went from losing 13 out of 15 to winning 6 out of 7. Like that.
We're playing teams who are sitting their guys against us. It's blatantly obvious. Philly sat players against us. Milwaukee has sat players against us. A lot of these good teams that we've beaten, we're not beating fully healthy.
Right.
It is a piss poor excuse of a product they're trying to sell to us. It's not even a possibility to win anything this season with the product that we have. And instead of
we're down 2 starters, and the one guy that belongs in the NBA rotation in our lineup, D'Angelo Russell, played 26 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're sitting guys too. This is not.
But Cam Breezy can hate me all I want for saying this, but Cam Thomas isn't a difference maker in terms of winning. All he does is score. Instead of putting up 100 points a game, we're putting up 110. And guess what? His defensive ability probably allows us to give up 105 rather than 90. So it's like it doesn't really matter. Like, this team is not going to be successful. There's not a single thing. There's not a single sign that points in any direction of this team being successful until they draft the stars, or unless if they trade for 2 superstars. And again, even then, it's not like you're able to redo the Kyrie KD where you sign them with the cap space you had, right? You're not losing assets by signing Kyrie and KD outside of D'Angelo Russell because you had to do a sign and trade. But that was it. At this point, you're now looking at trading for 2 guys, giving up the 17 plus first round picks that you have, moving all of the draft capital and financial flexibility for 2 stars. And then what? You're going to have no depth. You're going to have no picks. There's not a single direction that this team can take to win right now. There's not one. You're either going to trade for 8 stars again, and you're going to fuck things up, or you're going to be drafting in the what are we going to get? Kneppel? Woohoo.
I've been saying this for a while. The Nets are in hell. Like I've been pessimistic more than you guys have, and I was saying that we're in hell. Like this is not going to be easy to get out of unless we can get Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton off the books for a couple picks and then have a total reset. But then even at that point, we're going to be banned for 3 years. I want to bring it back to Breezy because I want you to respond to that. Dylan said that Cam Thomas isn't a difference maker. Your thoughts?
I would say I beg to differ. I highly disagree. The reason is because I've seen him get recognition from the NBA that he's one of the better scorers in the fourth quarter. So when the debate comes about whether points count from a player or not, I could count 3 times off memory. He had game winners. 1 versus the Knicks, 1 versus the Spurs, 1 versus the New Orleans Pelicans as the recent. Every season he's played in, I've seen him hit a game winner. You can pass the ball to Cam Thomas in the fourth quarter, and he's cooler than the other side of the pillow. You can't say that about all of these other players that may average the same amount of points as him in the NBA. There's a lot of players that can't score the same way in the fourth quarter. their arms get weak, arms heavy, mom spaghetti. You know what I'm saying? But Cam Thomas, nah, he gets the ball in the fourth quarter. He knows exactly what to do, and I'm saying that to say he's a piece. I don't agree to build around him like a AI. You need more. You seen what happened with AI, and that's what it reminds me of. Not to say he's AI. I'm just saying they didn't put a lot around AI. I don't think AI was enough, and that's why he went to play with Carmelo. The same way, not the same exact way, but I don't think Cam Thomas is enough to contend for a championship. I think all teams should have 2 shot creators in the starting 5. So my thing is, whoever we draft, get a shot creator. And to my knowledge, Trey Johnson, he falls outside of the top 3. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they got Kneppel over Trey Johnson, but knowing what the Nets need, we could get the best shot creator in a draft. It don't, you know what I mean, have to be the top 3. As far as I'm hearing, the draft is considered a generational draft, and in my opinion, a generational draft, at least those top 10 lottery picks are players that can impact winning immediately.
I wanted to ask this, and Dylan mentioned, like, we could pick 11. Like, we're saying we're going to pick out of the top 3. Again, unless this is rigged, we're going to win games in the second half of the season, and we're going to, get in a worse draft position, not better, as I foresee it. We could be drafting 11 or 9, right? And Dylan mentioned that. Like, have we prepared ourselves for the fact that we're not going to be drafting one of these stars? And on top of that, it is now the best avenue, since we're not going to be drafting top 3, that we're not getting Ace, that we're not getting Cooper, that we're not getting Dylan, we're not getting Trey Johnson. I mean, we could be drafting 10 or 11. Maybe the best option is to trade for a superstar. John?
There's so many routes we can go right now, but even I've said you have to have contingency plans always, especially on a team like this. There are some guys in that middle tier that could work for us. Jeremiah Fears, Kaman Maliwaka, Derek Queen. There are prospects that can be a part of this future. Now, as far as the stars go,
John, getting Jeremiah Fears is a good player.
Right, but Gary, you're talking about
out of hell. He doesn't change your franchise. He's a nice piece. He's a nice player, but you're not all of a sudden good because you have Jeremiah Fears.
Right. But you're talking about superstar options. Listen, the free agency this summer is very minute. Is one of the worst ones I've seen yet. Okay. You talk about Kamega. The Warriors are probably going to re-sign him. They're 83% on the cap with 3 guys, so they might try to give him a $20 million salary. And unless Sean Marks overpays for him, he's not going anywhere probably. So really, we're in a blank free agency where you like to re-sign Thomas, you take on some bad contracts, and swing for the fences the following year. But like you said, Gary, the Nets could choose to just do something crazy like this whole season has been and go after a star. But your only 2 real star options that are available right now potentially is a Zion if he asks out, but he comes with a lot of baggage. And Giannis, he's got that calf injury, and let's be honest, he's been carrying that Bucks team on his back, and all those minutes are catching up to him. So if you bring him to this team with even worse talent as far as a roster goes, that leg's going to pop, and then we're screwed. Like, we need an actual team, not just one guy anymore or 3 guys. You need a 4, 5, 6, or 7 team. And this organization has shown they don't care about building that type of unit. They care about getting the stars and just letting everything else figure itself out. But you can't work like that anymore, especially in a new CBA system where superstars are making 50 to 60 million, which is a huge chunk of the cap space. So you have to have a real roster. So Gary, we could do something like that this summer, but just like you guys keep talking about, Johnson, Claxton, Thomas, only picks. If that's all gone, what do we have left to operate with? What's on the bottom barrel of this upcoming free agency? That's not a good contingency plan either. So we probably might have to consider drafting outside the top 5 at this point, but there are definitely some building blocks. But can this organization actually draft the right pieces?
Instead of drafting 7 or 9 or 11 or whatever, or maybe we make the playoffs. I don't know. Is it best maybe just to package that pick and trade it for a star, like not drafting? Like, I mean, we were all expecting to pick 1, 2, or 3 all season long. At the All-Star break, 53 games in or whatever we are, it's probably not going to happen, guys. Like, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news.
Gary, I would say I disagree with you, Gary. Like, I don't want to trade for a free agent. I'm not free agents. Then they don't impress me for the Brooklyn Nets. You know what I'm saying? Even with KD, Kyrie, and Harden collectively, as far as outside of the rapport of what they did off of this team, and I will never take nothing away from what they did with the team. I'm just saying, as far as what the expectation was and what actually happened, is underwhelming. And I don't want to invest in the free agency. I'd rather take time to build from the draft. I do. And I'm only saying that to say,
not picking, like, if we're picking 9 and we get Jeremiah Fears, that's not a piece that you're winning. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a nice player. He's got upside, but this is not a franchise-changing player. It's what's going to be a good role player in the NBA.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. You know, again, I don't watch a lot of college ball, so I don't really like to debate much of that. But from what I heard, well, what I know is that Jody Fernandez is a good coach, and the player development, staff and whatnot with Jody Fernandez, whoever we draft, they're gonna help that player become a better player. But that's why I like having the conversations about the different players outside of the top 3 or the top 5. And if I'm gonna be mad if we make the play-in and you said the playoffs, you know what I'm saying? And I'm with you. But hypothetically, what if we do make the playoffs? How would I feel about that? I would feel like shit. We maybe we got more than we thought. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, to miss out on these quote unquote generational players, the top 3 players, will I feel away? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, how much will we need them if we playing that well? Because it's one thing to beat the bad teams in a regular season, but if we playing well enough to win the play-in game and then make the playoffs, and then I don't know, win one game in the playoffs, you know what I'm saying? It just make me wonder, like, how good are we and how good are these specific players? But realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're gonna make the play in.
I don't think so either. I'm just saying, like, to me, it's more likely if we had to put odds on this, it's more likely we're gonna make the playoffs or finish with a bottom 3 record. To me, it's more likely we make the playoffs. Like, I'm being serious. Like, I don't think either is gonna happen. But like, honestly, when we come back from the All-Star break, D'Lo, Cam, Noah Clowney, and Claxton at the 5. Is that bad of a team that ain't going to win no games? Rizzy?
Nah, you're right. You're right, bro. Bro, Cam Thomas on this team, impact winning. I hear what Dylan is saying, but I've seen Jody Fernandez and Cam Thomas relationship as, all right, if you play this side of the ball, you're going to get offers. So that's, again, why I disagree with Dylan, too, because Cam Thomas, being a Cam Thomas fan, in my opinion, he wasn't getting the ball the way I thought he should. And I felt like it was because of his effort on the defensive side of the ball. Once I've seen as a fan that Cam Thomas was showing more effort on the energy on the defensive side of the ball, I seen him getting more attempts at the basket. It's like, that's the way you got to play for Jody Fernandez. And I think if that's the kind of coach we got, again, the system that Jody Fernandez is implementing, I'm not saying it's more essential than the player that we're going to draft, but it's pretty up there. You know what I'm saying? His coaching schemes and strategies, I'm not saying anybody could be good in it. I'm not going that far because I do believe we need some talent. Hold on, he said as soon as Breezy stopped. What?
Whoa, pause.
Hold on. And he said let me just address this, please. He said I was capping. No, there's a real game winner with Cam Thomas versus Grimes on the last play in the Garden. Cam Thomas hit him with a 20-20 step back, hit a 3 almost from like the logo in the Garden. That was a game winner, bro. It went from 3-point lead to a 6-point lead. The Knicks had to call a timeout and y'all lost. So don't play with my hand.
I remember it specifically. It was his rookie year. I remember it specifically. I remember the shot. Dylan, you've been quiet. I mean, like I said, that lineup I just ran off, it isn't going to lose, 20 out of 22 in the second half and get back into, tanking position.
There's no world where you can even get back into the top 4. It's done. Damage.
Well, I mean, look, if they lost 20 out of 22, if they went on,
they would still probably be at 5. That's how bad the other teams are. Like, we're 10 games behind the first pick. 10.
Well, yeah, no one's catching Washington. That's
Meaning though, even the third pick, I believe we're 7.5 games behind.
Let me pull it up again.
Like, we have no chance. It's the damage is done. Sean Marks is the moron. Cam Johnson ruined a ton of this. Why bringing in D'Lo was a smart idea for Sean Marks? No clue. It was stupidity. We were doing great with the tank when we didn't have Schroeder. And what did you do? You brought in a point guard that can play make. Like, that's just, it doesn't make sense. So
yo, take his comment off, Gary. Yo, what?
All you had to do was call up Killian Hayes, and this would have been like
I got
you have
you,
all
I
the
got you.
cards in front of you, right, Dylan, like you're saying. He has all the cards in front of him. He doesn't know what to do with the assets. Like, I've never seen a boss like this that has all he could ask for, and he doesn't even want to use what he has in front of him. Like, it's just wild to me. And here's a crazy stat. You know that Keon Johnson dropped 1,000 points last night? In this season alone, he scored half of what his career has been, which is 500 points. And he's mostly been a C-string guy. So, Breezy, to your point, the system is good, but it's what's around it that is potentially screwing us from getting real legit talent. Like, the Junkyard Squad is a fun story, but we need legit stories, not fun stories anymore. It seems like this organization is happy with nostalgia and parody. When can we ever be legit? That's my own thing. It feels like we're living off the past with the Scam Johnsons, the Ben Simmons, the D-Lows. Like, why can't we go forward with a whole new unit? A whole new team of players that actually want to build and be here. I bet you half of these guys don't really even want to be here. They just want to go to whichever team is going to throw the bag at them because they're overperforming expectations. I'd rather have players that are committed to this than guys that are just looking to jump ship because they want to get their stat numbers up to get paid. That's the problem here.
Dylan's right, guys. I mean, we're not getting in the top 4. Like, we're already, what is that, 6 games better than Charlotte for the 4th spot. We're not catching them. I mean, even if we lost every game, Charlotte might not win 7 more. Honestly, we're drafting no better than the 5 position.
But Gary, how consistent is it with the draft being consistent? Like, you see how Atlanta, that's not consistent. They went almost to the play-in or whatever they did, and they got the number 1 pick. How consistent is it that the worst team gets the best pick? How consistent it actually is that stat? Like, is that really happening? Like,
we still have a 34% chance of drafting in the top 4, which is what we want. That's not great. Like, but it's not horrible either. It's 1 in 3. That's not terrible. I mean, look, we're all counting on a miracle here. Hopefully, the ball's
that's the biggest problem. That is the biggest problem. When in Nets history have we had miracles? The last time I remember as a fan sitting there hoping that the lottery did us right was for John Wall, and we got Derek Favors, and we traded him immediately.
Let me get you. We got a miracle. When Jason Kidd crashed his car and hit his wife, and the Suns had to trade him for Stephon Marbury. That was the last time we got him. Oh, you weren't even alive then, but Jason Kidd was clearly the best point guard in the league. He got in a lot of trouble with Phoenix. They wanted to get rid of him, and he came to us. But that was the last time.
But it's just like, at the end of the day, why would fans prefer fucking around to find out rather than putting yourself in the best position? Like, I would rather be like a bottom 3 team in basketball and land the 7th or 8th pick rather than being the 8th or 10th worst team in basketball and landing around that pick. Because at least you put yourself in the position to get one of those picks. We're not even putting ourselves in the position to. And people I still can't believe people are using this ideology, but they continue to say, well, Atlanta was 10th last year. It's not happening again.
You're waiting on another miracle.
It has never happened twice. There's never been a year where the 10th or worst odds pick has ever jumped to number 1 in back-to-back years. It hasn't even happened within a 5-year span of each other.
So what about the stat? What about the stat of the top 3 worst teams getting the top 3 picks? How consistent is that?
One team usually in the top 3 doesn't land a top 3 pick.
Okay.
Like, Washington will likely drop down to 4, New Orleans probably to 3, Utah to 1, and then some team between 5 and 7 will jump up. But that's the problem. Right now, Toronto's in a better position marketability-wise to make the NBA money than we are. That's just a fact. They have 2 stars. They have a great role team around them. They're an exciting market in Canada. That right there is more marketable. If they really do rig the lottery system, Toronto should probably be ahead of us. Philly should probably be ahead of us. They are a bigger market franchise than us. They are a homegrown franchise in Philly, have been in Philly forever. They have a better fan base than us, even though they're a bunch of assholes. It's just the truth. Brooklyn doesn't have a true fan base. And if that is the case, show up to the fucking games and stop making it look like a 70-30 ratio in favor of other teams. But Philly has a core around them. They have an MVP. They have an all-star in Maxey. They have a wash star in Paul George. A Dylan Harper there, or, an Ace Bailey. Yeah, that's exciting. The league's probably going
They're not giving the pick to Philly. They've given so many picks to Philly.
Being is that,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, even San Antonio, they have 2 lottery picks. You don't think the league's going to want to give them a top 3 pick?
That's the other one I was thinking that could start jumping people is San Antonio because they get another.
Even Houston.
Yeah.
Even Houston with Phoenix's pick. There are about 3 or 4 teams that have more marketability and more of a chance to make the NBA money than we do currently. It's just a fact. So if there's any team that's going to jump into the top 3, it's probably not going to be us because we fucked ourselves out of position to do it. If we were bottom 5 rather than bottom 8, I'd agree. Maybe there's a chance that we get in. But no, the best I can see them putting us at is 5. And what's that going to do for us?
Houston is sitting on
Derek Queen. What is it? I mean, let me
at
get
point. At that point at 5, you're probably drafting one of either Kasparis or VJ Edgecombe. And even if you are drafting VJ Edgecombe, at that point, sorry, Breezy, but trade Cam Thomas and ensure a tank next year because I want AJ to Banster or I want Cam Boozer next to VJ Edgecombe. That's just how that's because VJ Edgecombe and Cam Thomas don't work together. It's just a fact. Both 6'4" guards.
If we couldn't tank this year with Tosan, if we couldn't tank this year with Tosan from Walmart, Jalen Wilson, if we couldn't tank with these guys, how are we going to tank next year?
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Because you can't upgrade the roster. Teams are going to start understanding the Jordy game plan, right?
Yeah.
Like it happens. Look at Ime's first year in Boston, right? It's a little bit of a reverse from what Jordy is, right? Jordy has started off hot and has been unbeatable in terms of coaching. Ime started off with an incredible roster, didn't have the game plan, and after the All-Star break, the entire team bought into the game plan and they had the best record in basketball, ended up making the Eastern Conference Finals.
So the finals that year, right? That was his first year they lost to Golden State, right? That was his first year?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because the year after then he got booted and they still had the game plan in play. Then Mazzulla took over and they've been fine ever since. So point being is there's just no room for improvement with this roster. They've already peaked. There is nothing that they are going to do moving forward in free agency. Jonathan Kuminga does not get you extra wins. He doesn't. It's not going to happen. He's not a superstar. He's not even a star. At best, high caliber role player. And what are you going to do? You're going to pay him 30 to 35 million just because you have the money to blow on this year? Like, that's stupidity. Realistically, our cap space situation isn't even as high as people think, right? Say Brooklyn does select 5 draft picks like they have this year, 20 to 30 million in contracts go to those rookies.
Yeah.
24 to 27 million goes to Cam Thomas. 10 million probably goes to Day'Ron Sharpe. You're working with maybe 10 to 20 million after that. You're not getting anybody.
This is why it was critical to get Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton off the books. It was those you can't bill with $50 million invested in those guys.
They got Ben Simmons off the books.
Come on, that should have done months ago.
All of that money is going to Day'Ron Sharpe and Cam Thomas. All of that money from Ben Simmons is going to Cam Thomas and Day'Ron Sharpe. So it's like we didn't get rid of him.
So we're going to be paying Cam Thomas 20 to 25 million more next year than we are this year, right? Is that fair? And we're going to be paying Day'Ron Sharpe double next year what we're paying him this year. Is that fair? So I'm not convinced that Day'Ron's going to be here next year. Like, he's infinitely better than Claxton, but they're already overpaying Claxton. They may just draft a 5 in the first round and go with that instead of paying Day'Ron 10.
You know what's crazy right now is Houston currently is sitting on a lottery pick. The Suns are now 2 games out of a play-in. KD is going to leave that team, and they're going to self-destruct. Like, the Rockets have a diamond mine of assets that we gave away for 2 picks that we can't even use right. And the Bulls, they started their rebuild 2 weeks ago. They didn't make a single trade for 3 years. We started our rebuild a year and a half ago. If we're ahead of them in this play-in BS and they drafted top 5 over us when we started a rebuild earlier, that's unforgivable as an organization. You literally let a team who waited too long to rebuild, and when they finally do it 2 weeks ago, and they get a higher draft pick to you, there's no coming back from that as an organization. That's just pure insanity at that point. Like, we've made this a lot harder on ourselves than it had to be, and that starts with front office. They don't know what they're doing.
It was critical for free agents for salary cap reasons to get Cam Johnson and his $22 million next year off the books.
Yeah.
It wasn't just trading him and trying to get 2 picks. It was getting him off the book so that we can start to rebuild this thing without a $22 million 3-and-D guy, like, who doesn't give you a whole lot of D, by the way. Like, it's a really bad contract. Nick Claxton's contract is worse. I don't know if you can get rid of Claxton's contract, but I'd be on the phone. I would have been on the phone. I'd be on the phone with LA right now. Like, look, the day we're allowed to make this trade, what do I got to do to have you take Claxton? You have to get these 2 salaries off the books, or you really can't do much, right? Like Dylan said, the salary cap is kind of a facade because we're going to give that money, a lot of it to Cam Thomas, who deserves it, and we're probably going to give a bunch of it to Zaire Williams and
that's another person I didn't even include. Yeah.
So
you also have to figure one of either Killian Hayes, Tucson, or Tyrese Martin are getting a standard deal, so that's going to take a league minimum to $5 million a year off the books. Like,
yeah.
There's not room to work with. And then what are you going to do? You're just going to keep re-signing mid? Like, what is the point?
And this free agency isn't even that good. Like, the cap space doesn't even matter this summer. Like, anybody who's bragging about the cap space, lower the expectations. Just like Gary and Joe just broke it down. Lower the expectations.
Marcus Smart's got 1 year on his books. Next year we'll talk again. We'll have Marcus Smart. Maybe we can buy him out. Maybe we can swap him for some 2s or something. I don't know. But then that money's off the books. Cam Johnson's not coming off the books next year either, and Claxton's here forever. And you can't win. We can't start to rebuild with $50 million tied up in Claxton and Cam Johnson. It's not going to work.
It's 50. It's roughly $52 million a year that we're paying the 2 of them on average.
It's not you. It's those are
that's
horrible
1/4
contracts.
of your book. That's 1/4 of your financial, like a little more than 1/4. Like 1.5 out of 4.
You know what the craziest thing, as ludicrous as this whole Zion Williams talk has been, to Gary's point, if you want to get out of hell, take the 2 worst contracts, attach 2 picks, dump them to the Pelicans. You take on Zion for maybe a year, 2 years, see if he's healthy. His money's not guaranteed. You let go of that. There's your cap space. There you go.
Zion is the only way out. I know you guys hate this. Zion's the only way. Getting Zion and hoping he decides he wants to play basketball is the only way out of this. Breezy, I've never gotten your thoughts on Zion. What would you think if we could get rid of Cam's contract or Claxton's contract? It's going to cost you a couple picks. What are your thoughts of bringing Zion in?
I don't think he'll be focused here. You know what I'm saying? I think it's too many beautiful women here, Golden Crust. There's too many Jamaican spots, too many women, too many things for him to be distracted. I don't trust Zion here. Young boy, he was out there in New Orleans. A lot of thick women, a lot of ways he could be distracted. Again, because I don't think y'all understand. Some of these players, they fall in love with the lifestyle that the NBA brings them. They lose their love of the game because whether they win or lose, they go home and they live in their best life. And some of them get caught up in that and they stop caring about winning basketball. Look, they put up their numbers, but they're not playing to win. They playing to make sure they get their money. And I question the motive, not the talent, but the motive of these players. In other words, sometimes they come here just to get the bag. In other words, you know what I mean? So I think he's a great player, but I don't know if I think he needs somewhere like Utah where he could just focus on basketball where you get the best out of Zion. But you put him, but they got snow bunnies out there then. So you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I just think he a great talent. I just don't know if he focused on basketball all the way. But I don't think he's a good fit for Brooklyn, though.
All right, so I still stand alone as the only one that wants to at least consider bringing Zion in to get us out of hell. I'm still the only one who thinks that might work. I'm not saying. Go ahead.
I'm open to it if it takes 2 bad contracts off our hands. But to Breezy's point, listen, this guy is, his game with women is obviously not good right now since he got turned up by that woman online. The foods, he's still tempted by the food temptations, the lifestyle. But at the end of the day, Breezy, we're in a really sticky situation. We're stuck with 2 bad contracts. Now we got Scam Johnson trying to lecture us on what a fan is when this guy's not even that great of a player. If he was on a good team, he's an average role player at best. But you have these guys taking up cap space on the books. And how we get out of this if we trade these guys to the Pelicans for Zion, his money's not guaranteed. We could let go of him in the next 3 years. So we could have open cap space if that's the only way we can get it. So I'm open to if there's a way to get out of this, because right now that cap space this summer, there's nothing to be happy about. The free agency is a bust. You know, you're going to re-sign Thomas, and where are the other moves? Take on maybe one bad contract? Like, we're just going to be stuck in the middle. And as long as the organization's in charge, it seems like they're fine being in the middle, because we're neither horrible, right? Because nobody wants to be horrible, but we're neither great either. Even if you have Jordy, like, you need the talent. And it seems that this organization's problem is they only want to get the talent when they could throw everything they have away for it, but then you're even more screwed than you are. So how can we get out of this? And it just seems like we might have to take some crazy ways out here. Maybe.
Can I add to? I just wanted to add to what John said. I really disagree with the whole thing about. And I agree with you, John, but I disagree with the NBA owners being able to make the same amount of money they make whether they win or lose. And I think that's what holds teams back from being competitive. Yeah, make your money. Obviously, in the business, you want to make your money, but it has to be some type of incentive for winning. You know what I'm saying? If you're telling the owners that you're gonna make money if you win or lose, it's discouraging. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what's the point of winning?
Yeah, like some of them gonna look at it because all of them don't come from a basketball culture. We all probably got stories where we talk about basketball and how we love basketball. They be billionaires. Just this is a smart way to spend their money. But do they come from the basketball culture? Do they love basketball? You know, and that's another thing. That's what I want, because that's how you build the culture, and that's how you build the franchise. That's how you get the fans invested to, you know what I'm saying? You know, you can hear the fans. That when you get the fans a voice, those be the best franchises, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because the fans really care, because it ain't about money. We not paying them. So we just care about the win. So we don't understand the whole business side of it. We speak on it, but again, I just think our fan base, we've been through a lot. And for us to get a top 3 or a lottery pick, I can't say how close we are to it, but I will say that it'd be great if we did have one. And if we got to the play-in and the playoffs, like Gary said, I don't want to take no potential away from the Brooklyn Nets. Then it made me look at the team like, wow, how good are we? You know what I'm saying? You know, so I'm excited to see more basketball. I know the All-Star weekend is here, and we're not going to see the next Brooklyn Nets game until February 20th. We got to deal with that. So shout out to the podcast, you know what I'm saying, helping that out. But yeah, man, you know, I want the best for this team, but let's see what is the best for this team. And that's why I like podcasts, so we can all hear each other to see what is and what isn't. I don't really know. I just be talking my big fan breezy shit. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just speaking from a passionate perspective, because this is what I feel is best. You know what I'm saying? So y'all can disagree with me. You know what I mean? I disagree with y'all sometimes, but sometimes I agree with y'all. So
you made some very valid points, Breezy. It's just, it seems that organization is fine being in the middle as long as possible, because you don't want to be too bad, like you said. You don't want, you want to be great, but it's how you get there. And Brooklyn's problem is they always either want to leap too high or they don't want to go low. But if you have your own picks, you have to go low a bit if you want to go high the right way. Because if you had the Suns picks, like we keep saying, this all is justified. What Jordy's doing, phenomenal. I got a diamond mine of picks. I could go either way, but you have your own pick now. The standards and circumstances changed as soon as you made that deal with the Rockets. But it seems like in Sean and Joe's minds, oh no, things are the way they're supposed to be. Jordy's winning us games with this talent. We're a middle team, and that's fine, and maybe we'll hit out in the lottery. But if you don't, because we're going to find out 2 theories on May 12th. We're going to find out that Sean and Joe knew they were getting a top 3 pick. We're going to find out this organization really doesn't know what they're doing, and you have to settle for a 6 or 10 pick. But you're still going to be a middle team at that point. Like, when can we get to the top without having to sell our soul to get a superstar always? That's what the organization needs to figure out for themselves. And once they do, I think Brooklyn basketball is going to be on a very fun trajectory. But it seems like our priorities are all over.
I don't know why trading for a superstar is the bad option. What the Lakers have won how many championships? When was the last time the Lakers drafted a superstar?
They get superstars. It's not even about drafting superstars.
Okay, so
they know how to get
you
superstars.
can trade, right? They traded for Shaq. They traded for Kobe. They traded for LeBron, or they signed LeBron. Right? Like, that's my point. They traded for AD. They traded for Luka. Why is that such a bad option? Why is trading or signing a superstar such a bad option? Like, why
They
is
got the
drafting
results,
only one?
Gary. They
It
got the
depends
results
on
for the titles.
yeah,
We try to
You gotta
copy
answer
them,
the
and we haven't won anything.
it depends on the franchise. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Lakers, they got a
Look,
high
BC's a
prestige.
Lakers. Hang on one second. I'll let you go. BC is a big Lakers fan. The last superstar they drafted was James Worthy in 1982. Go ahead, Breezy.
No, I'm just saying that they got a high prestige, and if you go to the Lakers 9 times out of 10, it's contending for a championship or a competitive team. They know that, like Cam Thomas, he's a fan of Kobe Bryant. He started watching the NBA because of the Lakers, and he was living in Japan. So my point is that that's who's on TV. They always going to get the talent. They, NBA West, the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it was. They built the NBA on the Lakers. I get it, but at the end of the day, far as parity and entertainment and whatnot, not to say it like that, but the league one day has to have every team with a championship, or at least give them a chance to compete. And when you look at the history of draft selections, like I was saying last night, bro, other teams, they get more than us early. You know what I'm saying? Miami Heat, they expansion team. They came after the Nets, and they got Dwayne Wade and all of this talent. The Toronto Raptors, they came and got way more talent than the Nets got far as draft consideration. And I'm saying that to say, for whatever reason, these are expansion teams coming in after the Nets, getting more draft capital than the Nets. Like, it's our turn, man. I want to see us get this draft capital because I think it is part of the winning recipe. And I do think that as of recent, we've seen free agents on the roster more than we see them on the playing basketball for the Brooklyn Nets fans. You feel what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, that's why I'm for the draft over the free agents. You know what I'm saying? And I do want us to win. I want both to happen. I want us to play as best as we could, and I want us to get a high draft pick. You know what I mean? So it's a mix for me. You know what I mean? So I know I can't have it both ways, so that's why I put it on the scale earlier.
All right, I want to bring this post All-Star break. We open up with Cleveland. I think we can assume that's a loss. Then we got Philly and Washington. That could be 2 more wins. Then OKC, that's probably a loss. And then home for Portland. 3-2 is very possible. Those next 5 games, John, I'll start with you. Going to go to Breezy. How many games do you think we realistically win of those next 5? I'll just go over it one more time. Home for Cleveland, at Philly, at Washington, home for OKC, home for Portland. What do we do in those 5 games out of the break?
I think 3 out of 5 is realistic. Portland just lost DeAndre Ayton the other night, so they lost the guy who was actually starting to play good basketball. So they're going through some stuff. OKC, they're gonna crush. Cavs, like you said, gonna crush. But Wizards, they're not obviously playing, so they're tanking. And 76ers, I think we might hear some news about Joel Embiid's health status this All-Star break, and if he gets shut down before the second half begins, you kind of already know where they're at there. So 3 out of 5, I guess, is realistic at this point. But at the end of the day, we are at the point of no return. We are living with what's happening, and we'll see if the organization knows something we don't, or they clearly don't know anything, and that we actually know more. So it'll be interesting to see how this all turns out. But it's a wild ride. I just didn't expect the season to fall like it did. But this is Brooklyn basketball. It's a wild roller coaster ride.
Breezy, same question. Next 5 games. Cleveland, Philly, Washington, home for OKC, and home for Portland. How many of those 5 games do we win?
Cleveland, we should take a loss. You know what I mean? Kenny Atkinson. But, listen, man. What if we win all 5? No, I'm just playing.
We're not going to be OKC and Cleveland. Obviously, are very, very winnable.
I'm just messing around. Ha. But I think we lose to Cleveland Cavaliers. 76ers, bro, I doubted they tanking skills. They are very good. Nick Nurse has run a masterclass of tanking. And like I told you, the tanking comes from him being the assistant coach with the Toronto Raptors before he was the head coach for the Toronto Raptors. He's seen a lot of tanking. He is the Dos Equis of tankers. I'm telling you, man, Nick Nurse is one of the best tankers out there, and I'm telling you, they know what they doing. But I do think that
we lose that game to the 76ers because of it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, no, we beat them because of it. Word. The Wizards. Let's go crazy. Let's lose to the Washington Wizards. Let's go.
We already
crazy.
did. That's the one team that's beaten us in the stretch. Wow.
Yeah. Like let's fucking do it. You know what I mean? You get one life. You know what I mean? Let's YOLO. Let's lose to the Washington Wizards. You know what I'm saying?
YOLO.
And then Oklahoma City Thunder, the business per usual. You know, let's get that work and get the fuck up out of there. Pardon my language. You know what I'm saying? Let us get that work, let pause or whatnot. You know what I mean? Let us get that loss. And then Portland, you know, so you know, be somebody, Portland, do something. You know what I mean? Show us what you got. You know what I'm saying? Everybody talking trash about y'all. Y'all ain't got no reputation. Show the Brooklyn Nets. You know what I mean? Beat us. You know, do y'all really think y'all could do it? Then in the Brooklyn in the coldest month of the year, Portland might have to lose with that loss, man. They might have to leave with that loss. I ain't gonna hold you, man. I think we better than Portland based on who can score the ball. And if these teams ain't got no dominant shot creator, they gonna lose to the Brooklyn Nets, man. That's like you got OKC, they got Shea, he a dominant scorer. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Poole will go off with the Wizards. And this is all contingent to Cam Thomas not being on the roster. Like, because if Cam Thomas is healthy after the All-Star break, as they said, yeah, we gonna compete. We gonna win like 4 out of 5. We probably lose to OKC. As they said. Yeah. That's me?
Yeah, that's sorry. That's my bad.
Or so yeah, that's basically how I feel. So I would say we'll lose to Cleveland, we'll beat the Sixers, we'll lose to Washington, we lose to the Thunder, and we probably beat Portland.
So you're saying 2 and 3 in that, right?
Yeah, 2 and 3.
Guys, smash the like button. Everyone out there listening, smash the like button and subscribe if you have not already. The last question I want to close with is, where do the Nets finish this season? Is it closer to the play-in? Is it the playoff or out entirely? Breezy, I'll start with you. John, you guys debate this. I got to go take a leak real quick, but rest of the season, second half, where do the Nets finish off?
You can say take 5. You know, I'm about to take 5. All right, but shout out to Gary, man. Yeah, I feel like I said, man, let's go crazy, man. The Brooklyn Nets fans, we all on the fence about what's going to happen, undecided. More fans want us to go to the draft, even me. But anytime we do win, I don't be mad. You know what I'm saying? I'll be looking at it like, yo, man, how you expect me to feel, man? I'm going to feel happy. And my thing is, if they're going to really do that and they're going to go all out and they're going to say, you know what, F that tank, and they're going to play their hardest. I do want to see how far they going to get, because to me, at that point, it wouldn't even matter who we draft, because Jordi Fernandez is that good. But it's easy to say that when we beat teams that's tanking too, right? But if Cam Thomas is healthy and we beat OKC Thunder, I'm like, oh, all right, then we might be something serious. But you can't. You would think the wins are meaningless, being the 76ers, the Wizards, or even the Blazers. And I think the difference between the Blazers, they don't have their own draft pick. I think Chicago has a draft pick. I think Washington and 76ers has their own draft pick. But I'm not sure. I gotta check. But yeah, I do think we'll be competitive, Gary. I just don't think that Cam Thomas is enough. I don't think we have enough to beat Boston if we was really trying to go in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs. I do think we could beat the Knicks. You always hear me say that on record. You heard what I said. I know King Ribby watching. I do think we could beat them. You know what I'm saying? But that's it though, Gary. I do think that it's hard to say we're gonna lose if Cam Thomas come back healthy, man.
I can't.
You might be right. Your theory just might be right, Gary. That's all it is, bro. You just might be right about this, bro. I mean, I want to focus on the draft, but you might be right, bro. If Cam Thomas come back healthy next to D'Lo,
they're gonna put the league on notice, man. That's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm gonna say, man.
D'Lo and Cam Thomas, the greatest backcourt God ever created.
Look at Gary's gonna lose his mind when he sees that the first
I've been
turnover.
waiting
the
for
first
it. I've
defense
gotten
of
it
this
once
half.
so far. I just want to see
Yeah,
it.
this
John,
backcourt gonna be so tough.
Yeah,
Gary.
you know, at the end at the end of the day, this is what the title of the show should be. There's no turning back. The decisions have been made. The trade deadline, wasn't used effectively. Trading two guys for bag of potato chips and dealer jerseys. I guess if that's a way to sell things, that's what they're trying to sell us right now. But at the end of the day, now Jordy is in full control. He's the GM, the manager, the coach, the owner. The team is buying into what he wants to do, and if he wants to go out there and win and get a play in, nobody's objecting. Everybody's doing what he wants to do. So we will see what happens. And if we get a play in, we're banking on basically an anomaly that happens to the Hawks to happen to us, and there's no guarantee. So we are in a high wire right now, and we could go multiple directions. And really, May 12th, that is judgment day for the fan base, for the owners, for the organization to figure out where our future is, where it lies. And hopefully it works in our favor. But I don't know if it was you or Dylan said, when has luck really been on our side, especially when we have the assets to do it, but we don't take that route. We always take the opposite route. So we're going to find out where we stand. I hope it all works out for us. As a Brooklyn Nets fan, that's why I keep doing the content, keep showing up. Like Joey BK said, Breeze, win, lose, or draw, we here. That should be the motto of the Brooklyn Nets. That's what a Brooklyn Nets fan is, Scam Johnson. Maybe you should look into it one day. But yeah, no matter what, win, lose, or draw, we here. And we're going to find out where this all leads to. I will say this has been an unpredictable season where it's supposed to be very predictable. So buckle up and enjoy the roller coaster ride, because that's what it is right now. So we'll see where the cards and the dice fall.
Word.
I don't disagree. I see the Nets making the play in. I don't think they get beyond the play in. So they'll still be in the lottery, and they'll draft somewhere around 9 or 10, and we'll see what that goes. But I think right now, when you bring back Cam Thomas, you bring back Noah Clowney, and you go with that lineup that we talked about. You go with D'Lo, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Noah Clowney, Nick Claxton. It's not all that bad. It's not that bad, and they're gonna catch Chicago, and they may even catch Atlanta, depending on how Atlanta wants to play this out. So that they could end up with the 9 seed. It is what it is. I'm just saying, but I don't see them going in. I think they'll finish with the 10 seed. I still think Atlanta won't tank that much, because Atlanta got a way to go. And the only question is, can Toronto catapult the Nets? But it doesn't look like they're interested in that. It's going to be an interesting second half of the season. I want to see Cam Thomas back. Last question I want to ask you, Breezy. Any chance the Nets bring back D'Lo on a 1-year deal, on a team-friendly, vet minimum kind of 1-year deal?
Yeah, I think D'Angelo, he's he tapped in. You know what I'm saying? He liked being here. You know what I mean? I think he wants that big bro. Because you got to remember, first and foremost, I want to say I'm glad you asked that question, because remember, D'Lo was a number 2 pick, and he knows how important the draft is. I even just watched something on D'Lo. You got to remember, he was a number 1. He knows about the pressures. He knows about what it is on being drafted high, and he knows about what it is being that first year as a rookie with that kind of high expectations. But he also knows how to deal with the locker room right now, where they have that setting that tone too. You know what I'm saying? Where they like, yo, I don't even care about, you know what I'm saying, the draft and what's going on, because I got to focus on right now. And you do have to look your teammates in the eye. You do got to look them in the eye. Like, you can't be like in the huddle. Like, I seen them have a play with something happened with Zion Williams, and then they huddled up, and after that they got aggressive because they ain't like how, you know what I mean, they was aggressive with Zion Williams. And I seen Nick Claxton getting tougher. I seen D'Lo getting tougher. D'Lo is bringing these guys together. Him as a vet can be an intricate piece on why the rebuild happens faster. Because if he agrees to a vet minimum and it come off the bench for a Diego demand or some shit like that, like that puts us in a situation that'll behoove the Brooklyn Nets fans. I think all Nets fans will, you know what I mean, look at that like this is something that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I'm glad you asked me that question. So, Hell yes, to be specific. Yes. Sign D'Lo to a vet minimum, have him around whoever this draft pick is going to be. He could help him with the pressures and everything that come with being drafted in the NBA. Yep. Facts.
Appreciate that, Breezy. Do one more commercial pause. Let everyone know about your podcast and what you got going on.
Yeah, appreciate you, Gary. Yeah, y'all can find me here, you know what I'm saying, or in the panel or in the chat, or y'all can find me on my page. That's Big Fan Breezy on YouTube. I'm easy to find. It's funny when you look for me on YouTube, real big fans pop up, like pictures of like lunchroom fans, and it's funny. But yeah, I'm the actual page. You'll see this same avatar, and you can find me on Twitter at the same handle. Yep. So yeah, man. Thanks, man. This was a great show.
Appreciate that. And John,
Great episode.
Close this out. Any chance D'Lo can any chance D'Lo resigns with the Nets on a 1-year deal?
Hey, Karis LeVert's a free agent. Let's bring him back. Hey, let's trade for Jared Allen. Let's bring the 2018 vibes back. No, but listen, great show, Gary.
Let's trade Claxton for Brook Lopez. Let's do it.
Let's bring the band back together. The band is back together. But listen, great show, everybody. Gary, thanks for always having me on. Breezy, thanks for joining us today. You create great content, man, and thanks for letting me be a part of that. Listen, at the end of the day, I think D'Lo's free agency will be interesting. Look at the free agency point guards. This Tyus Jones, Fred VanVleet, and D'Lo, really. Lonzo Ball re-signed with the Bulls, so that free agent point guard market is very small. So, yeah, there's a chance D'Lo could come back. But at the end of the day, I said this on Bree's show last night, I don't think Marks cares about D'Lo. He brought him back for nostalgia and economic tickets. But if he resigns him, he's likely waiting for the opportunity to trade him or do something else with him. He doesn't see him as a long-term piece. So for D'Lo's sake, I hope he doesn't have to go through that because he can latch on to another team and play basketball they wants to play. I don't want him to be another chess pawn piece in Sean Marks' weird game of Candyland. I just don't think that does anything for us. I'd rather us draft a prospect in this draft and start from scratch there than have to bring a vet back that's not going to be in a long-term future.
Signing D'Lo to a vet minimum wouldn't stop you from drafting a point guard. If you're going to draft Jeremiah Fields or Boogie Flynn, you're still going to do that, right?
Right. If you need a backup, you go for it. But we'll see. Yeah. This is going to be an interesting summer, but this is definitely going to be the most important summer of Brooklyn Nets history, and we're going to be able to cover it. So let's enjoy the ride and go Brooklyn. Great show, guys.
All right, y'all. It's February 13th. From Texas to the world. Thank you. God bless.
Peace.
Peace, y'all.